Welcome back, beloveds, to the Connected Pleasure podcast. I'm Kayla Moore, your host. I go by she, her, hers pronouns. And today I am with a new guest, Dr. Jordin Wiggins, who is a naturopathic doctor, author, coercive control clinician, and dominatrix-trained pleasure strategist for women who have checked all the outward boxes of success in life, but feel unseen and disconnected in their relationships. She exposes why desire and connection disappear in relationships where women overgive and why no amount of therapy, communication, or willpower has worked. Through her pleasure centered method, she gives women from survival based intimacy into true receiving because pleasure is not the reward for healing, it is the reset that makes real connection possible. So amazing to have you. And that is such a rich bio that has so many different things in it. So tell me, do you like Dr. Wiggins or Jordin, actually?
Jordin. Call me
Jordin,
Jordin.
okay. Tell me, Jordin, how did you get into this work and doing all these different things? There's naturopathic doctor, author, coercive control clinician. I want to know more about that. And
Yeah, like how
dominatrix.
do you go from an author to doing multiple, or I mean, a
Yeah.
doctor to a dominatrix, like multiple dominatrix trainings? Well, let's
Yes.
talk about it.
Tell me all about that.
Uh, you know, it's the whole we teach what we know or what we
Mhm.
had to heal. So it was really my personal journey over the last 2 decades
Mhm.
where I initially had health issues, hormone issues. I kept
Mhm.
getting we're gonna go there, I guess everyone will
Mhm.
get to know me intimately. I kept getting these recurrent cysts in my vagina. They're
Mhm.
called Bartholin cysts. It's quite common actually, like 25% of women get one in their lifetime, but of course we don't talk about it because
Oh,
it's
wow.
a woman's intimate area.
Right.
Anyway, so with my hormone issues and with those cysts, that led me to becoming a naturopathic doctor.
Mhm.
And I thought that those were all the tools that I would need to help women heal and have fulfillment and energy and to be able to live the lives that they desired.
Yeah.
And then I was realizing with the best functional medicine testing, hormone prescriptions, like the best
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
medicine and Chinese medicine had to offer was women were lacking fulfillment and lacking desire. So that's
Yeah.
when, and it was mirroring my own journey at the time. I had everything that I said I wanted on paper. I was running a successful business, just bought a new house, um, but I wasn't fulfilled. I was in a sexless marriage, and it was just sort of this functional depression kinda thing, which I
Yeah.
now then I know now, and back then I started to treat like, this isn't only me, this is all of the women coming to my clinic that they're okay on paper, but they're not fulfilled, they're not alive, they have no desire. That erotic piece of us was missing, and there really wasn't any tools in my toolkit at that time to help.
Mhm.
So then I started my own pleasure journey,
Yeah.
um, reading journal articles, books. I did Mama Gina's School of Womenly Arts, and I started um, this. That was like 12 years ago now. So, it's embarrassing almost, like how long I've been doing this. And anyways,
Yeah.
um, then I was sort of at this new peak of fulfillment and satisfaction, and I was making a shift out of all these boxes and paradigms in the way that I thought I had to live my life. So I closed my women's health clinic and started doing women's retreats and women's groups and just coaching and work that felt fulfilling on a really deep level. So that's what I've primarily done for the last, I don't know, 6 years. And I got divorced and I
Yeah.
just really started living life the way that felt in alignment for me and not for other
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
I'm rambling. There's
That's
one
okay.
more little piece in that.
Yeah. Keep going.
So then I realized in that whole journey, I wrote a book, The Pink Canary, which is about pleasure and women's um, sexual health and wellness. And I started the Pleasure Principles podcast.
Mm.
So just the number of women kind of raising their hand to say, me too, this is my experience too.
Mm.
I have what fulfillment should look like on paper. You know, I got the degrees, the job, the certification, have the kids, the house, but I'm not happy. I'm crawling out of my skin. I don't feel like myself.
Mhm.
Um, but almost not even having the permission to raise their hand and say they don't feel happy because things look so good from the outside
Right.
looking in, that I looked even deeper and realized, because then my focus was about pleasure and sensation and tolerating sensation, healing trauma and our nervous systems. But then I realized that the select group of women that I worked with had super traits. And this is Sandra Brown's research. I've sort of adapted it to
Mhm.
fit the thousands of women that I've worked with over the last 12 years total.
Mhm.
And these super traits are having being extremely hardworking. So when things go wrong in your life, in your relationship, your instinct is to fix or overgive.
Yeah.
Um, it's extreme empathy, extreme loyalty, extreme forgiveness, and they're traits that make people that have them amazing,
Mhm.
very successful, usually in career, but it makes intimate relationship a challenge because we don't put ourselves on the map and our needs on the map. And this was initially, I was noticing it with women with super traits in sex,
Mhm.
but it really affects every layer and every aspect of their lives.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so needed in our world. I was just sharing with you that I am starting in my priestess training, and we are working with the archetype of the great mother right now. And there's kind of this duality to the great mother of being the mother, but then also being like the child in the mother's arms. So, this basically like providing the container and then also being the one to receive what is in the container.
I
And
love that.
I think that's kind of like what you're saying, that some of the shadow sides of the mother are exactly what you're describing, that we're overdoing and over being and trying to find our value in trying to care for others without really honoring who we are and what we need as women too. And I think we're really starting to try and shift that. I think we've been doing that, but especially right now, there's a lot of people that are like, I know that this isn't working for me, but just like you said, I'm doing all the things and I don't know what else to do differently. So I love that you're working on that with women and saw that in yourself too and said, I need to do something different.
Yeah, that and because I had super traits, I had
Mhm,
researched, listened to podcasts, gone to
mhm,
therapy, done right? Even in my
mhm,
healing, okay,
mhm,
so I'm gonna do EMDR, I'm gonna do all
mhm,
these things, and without looking at things through the lens of super traits, it
mhm,
was problematic. So, for
mhm,
example, if a person that has super traits, they're generally, like, to put it simply, an
mhm.
overfunctioner, and usually their partner is an underfunctioner. So, a
Yes.
small example would be the overfunctioner would always be the one planning, right?
Mhm,
Planning vacations, planning date nights, keeping the connection alive. The overfunctioner is usually the one to repair if there's an issue, right?
yep,
We're very hyper vigilant and we can tell when things are off. So
mhm,
we're the ones to initiate that. Um, with sex and intimacy, it's usually two ways. My cat
mhm.
doesn't like snowstorms, so she's on my lap.
It's
Um,
okay. Cats are welcome.
so those always being the one giving a
Mhm,
little more, and with our
mhm,
attention being out and focused on others,
mhm.
being that caregiver and nurturer of everyone else first and then ourselves
Yeah.
last, it sets us up for this really big power imbalance. Our relationships end up extractive over time,
Mhm,
and we can't figure it out. We think we're
mhm,
being so loving and so nurturing and so caring,
mhm,
and we're trying so hard that when it's not working, we're legitimately confused.
mhm,
And generally, couples therapy, and actually, this would be a fun conversation to have with you because
mhm,
with my clients, they've generally found that couples therapy has not been helpful for them
mm,
because it
mhm,
doesn't address the super traits. It
mhm,
assumes that both people
mhm,
are equally putting effort in to fix the relationship, that both people have equal, capacity and tolerance
mm,
and emotional intelligence and all these things.
mhm,
When my client has the super traits and is
mhm,
far more capable, far more forgiving, far more
mhm,
tolerant,
mhm,
and the relationship centers around the under-functioning partner. And
mhm.
therapy doesn't usually address that. It usually puts both people on equal footing, which is still extracting from the overgiver and
Right,
doesn't really help.
right.
What do you think?
I don't know if I've ever had that reflected back to me, but I do agree. I do agree that if you aren't addressing the power imbalances within the relationship, then yeah, it definitely I could definitely see where that's coming from. I think I tend to come from the lens of like patriarchal structures and how that has pinned men and women into different roles. And so I tend to talk about the imbalances in terms of like, well, women have been conditioned to operate in this way, to be more relational, to take care of everyone, to take on the like emotional burden of the relationship. And that men have to work on that, that they have to be able to talk about their inner self and look at that and meet their partner in a way where their partner feels emotionally cared for. Usually because we're working toward intimacy. And a lot of times men are seeking sex for all the different needs that they have because that's the only thing that they've been told is okay for them to get connection in is sex. And women have been taught kind of the opposite to seek
Yes,
connection
you get
through,
emotionally.
yeah, to get emotional connection, to communicate, to even often like spend time with somebody and again like feel safe in that space and they've been doing so much that oftentimes it's hard to like be in that receptive space. So I don't know if
Well,
I've
then
ever
you
looked at it through exactly what you're saying, but I
but
think
you are
yes.
coming at it still from that
Yes.
dynamic, right? So
Yeah.
if the man is under functioning
Right.
in other areas of intimacy, like, you're
Yeah.
calling him and inviting him into
Right.
that. So you
For
yeah,
sure.
you're addressing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that makes so much sense that if yeah, if therapists are not addressing that, that it's not gonna be helpful for the couple, that's for sure.
Yeah, and individual
Mhm.
therapy and all that, totally different, and I'm not saying
Mhm.
that like, I love therapy, I think it's amazing. I think
Mhm.
we should all do therapy,
Mm.
but when we
Yeah.
have one partner with super traits that's an
Mhm.
overfunctioner, and we have one partner that's an underfunctional functioner,
Mhm.
traditional therapeutic models
Mhm.
will not work because they don't
Mhm.
apply to that
Mhm.
situation.
Mhm.
They are patriarchal, they're, like, baked in
Mhm.
empathy, and they
Mhm.
center
Mhm.
men and the men's needs,
Yeah.
when really
Yeah.
and that's my work is
Yeah.
centering pleasure
Mhm.
for everyone
Mhm.
involved.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm also systems trained that as a marriage and family therapist, we're trained in systems and how systems are interconnected. And so when we talked about overfunctioning and underfunctioning in systems, a lot of what I was taught was like the overfunctioner has to stop doing that. Like they have to like pull back, kind of like the well, if I don't do the dishes, nobody else will. It's like, well, leave those dishes in the sink for as long as it takes for somebody else to come along and finally figure out that they need to step up and do it. I don't know if that's always like super realistic. It's kind of like the idealistic way of looking at it. But is there any truth to that and how you work with the kind of overfunctioning, underfunctioning dynamic?
In my early days, yes,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not anymore
Okay.
because and
Yeah.
we do have our own healing work to do as the overfunctioner, for
Yes.
sure, because we learned belief systems that, we had to earn love, and our
Mhm.
value was what we
Mhm.
contribute, that we weren't
Mhm.
inherently worthy of love and affection as we are.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
there's those abandonment fears and things that come up when,
Yeah.
um, we stop overfunctioning.
Yeah.
So and controlling to feel safe, right? So
Mhm.
we're always focusing on, like, ourselves, our
Mhm.
side of the street,
Yeah.
what we can control,
Yeah.
and unlearning those beliefs is a big thing, and I find my clients that just leave the dishes in the
Mhm.
sink, that approach, again, doesn't work
Yeah.
because then there is some form of punishment. There's some form of withdrawal of love or, like,
Mhm.
there's some
Mhm.
attempt to regain power and control about the dishes. So, yeah, it's a little more nuanced or,
Yeah.
do things for yourself.
Mm.
Go out with your girlfriends or
Mhm.
let your partner care for the kids and that kind of thing, but when that's weaponized
Mm.
and she comes home and the house is in a disaster state and so are the kids, then she
Mhm.
learns, like, it's just easier for me not to
Right.
ask. It's just easier for me to stay home.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
So yeah, just leave the dishes, or just
Mhm.
take time for yourself, or those first kind of line interventions or suggestions,
Yeah.
they won't work for a woman with super traits, because there's more layers.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I totally agree. I so it's yeah, it's interesting that that is kind of how we're first taught how to treat that, and noticing that that's and like you said, it can either be just unhelpful or it can actually reinforce the pattern that's happening.
It can be more
Mhm.
damaging, and
Yeah.
that happened to me,
Mhm.
where I was the overfunctioner, and through many therapists and coaches, and I was blamed.
Mhm.
Like, "Well, just stop being so anxious and overbearing and
Mhm.
controlling."
Mhm.
It's, like, essentially, right?
Mhm.
I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, the just don't do the dishes, or stop being controlling, but
Mhm.
that was never really the issue. The
Mhm.
issue was, like, I was taking over responsibility in all areas, and then the under responsibility or under functioning was bordering on, like, emotional manipulation and abuse and
Mm.
other types of coercive control,
Right.
and no one saw it. Like, no one, right? Because they assumed
Mhm.
equal
Mhm.
accountability, equal willingness to change and work on things, when that wasn't the case
Mhm.
at all. So that's why I'm, um, like, screening, because sexual coercion is massive, and in that patriarchal, gender-rolled, the way that we're taught to do heterosexual relationships and
Mm.
heterosexual
Mhm.
sex and intimacy is very male-centered and male-focused, right?
For sure.
It's not about mutual pleasure.
Yeah.
It's about penis in vagina. Wait, I forgot to ask if I are there off-limit words on here?
No, there are
Okay,
no
I didn't
off-limit words.
okay, I didn't think so, but I wanted to be sure. We just started chatting and I forgot. Um, yeah, like, penetrative sex as
Mhm.
the focus, but
Right.
only one-third of women reliably orgasm from penetration. So
Right.
then we have the orgasm gap, and then we
Mhm.
have, um, like, men's, right? How you
Mhm.
mentioned that they're taught to seek intimacy through
Mhm.
sex, and that's how
Mhm.
they're allowed, right? And
Mhm.
then there's this sense of entitlement to
Mhm.
women's bodies,
Mhm.
and they're entitled to pleasure and entitled to sex every so
Mhm.
often, and then
Mhm.
when they don't get it, then they're moody, then
Mhm.
they withdraw love, then they,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, punish or
Mhm.
criticize. So
Mm.
a lot of my clients are with these super traits, they're caught up in these power dynamics, and they don't even know what sexual coercion is. And
Mhm.
they've spent years and hundreds of thousands of dollars in therapy
Mhm.
getting suggestions like, you know, go on dates, schedule sex, right?
Mhm.
And when you have super traits, being told to schedule sex is inherently reinforcing the bad pattern,
Mhm.
because who's doing the scheduling, who's doing the
Mhm.
follow-up, who's planning the childcare, who's making sure the
Mhm.
sheets are clean?
Mhm.
The overfunctioner, it's the person with super traits.
Mhm.
So, it inherently puts more responsibility on the overfunctioner and continues to let the underfunctioner skate by.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So what is your solution to all of this? How do you help women get out of those power dynamics? And, hopefully there are some men too that are willing to like do the work and also get out of those dynamics as well.
And you know what? That I'm
Mhm.
happy that you said that because oddly enough, I'm getting more and more men listening, and I'm getting
Mhm.
more and more men private clients, which is very odd because, like,
Mhm.
my branding is pink. I market to women,
Mhm.
But there's men that are listening to my podcast and they're like they DM me and they say like, "This is me. Like, you called me out and I
Mhm.
don't." Like, they're acknowledging their
Mm.
benefit from the patriarchy and from the relationship structure and from being in a relationship with a woman with super traits.
Yeah.
And they're like, like, this is me, and I'm ready to raise my hand to work on this part." So
Mhm.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and because those systems damage men too.
Yeah.
And my work was like a lot primarily with women, but it's really cool to see men going, "Oh yeah, you're right."
Mm.
Like, I do need to fix this if I want
Yeah.
a healthy relationship. So that's really cool. Um, but that was a tangent, and now I forget what you asked me.
Just what is kind of your brand of solution to all of this, and how do you work with that dynamic to help move them through that?
So first we work on the beliefs and like
Mm.
deconditioning our super traits because
Mhm.
they're amazing. But women that have been in that hypervigilant, people pleasing, I need to earn love since childhood,
Yeah.
they need a whole new method of how
Yeah.
to relate.
Right.
So that's the pleasure centered method. But in a nutshell, it's a massive part of it comes from the awareness just by learning what their super traits are,
Mhm.
learning a healthy framework for connection and intimacy when you have super traits,
Mhm.
and then the actionable things that I have them do,
Mhm.
which, like, it's sort of they get to pick their own. It's like a menu of what works for them
Mhm.
personally, but breath work, meditations,
Mhm.
tantra, like, it's learning to be more present with sensation. Because one of
Mhm.
the biggest and this is it's pleasure and pain, which are
Mhm.
2 different sides of the same coin. They mostly come to me wanting more pleasure. It's
Yeah.
like, "Okay, if we want more pleasure, we are increasing our capacity to feel."
Mhm.
And that means feel all things,
Yeah.
um, because it's working on that ability to let people be disappointed in you and know that
Mhm.
it's not like, if you're not meeting their every need, it doesn't
Mhm.
mean anything about you,
Mhm.
and to be able to say, "No, I don't wanna have sex tonight.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it." Or, have a hell yes as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
I'm in,
Mhm.
which is so erotic, in my
Right.
opinion, to have
Yeah.
the yes and no
Mhm. Mhm.
when her only frame of reference before was, "What does my partner want?" Or,
Right.
"If I have sex now, can I not for 3 weeks?"
Mhm.
Or, "How long can I get him off my back for?" sorta thing. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, deconditioning those inherent beliefs that we have, using a bunch of techniques to help us increase our ability to feel and be comfortable with lots of
Mm.
sensation, good
Mhm.
sensation like orgasm, and then
Mhm.
difficult sensation like grief, because for
Yeah.
them to even start healing, I always describe having super traits and being in a relationship. It's like you're holding a lump of coal and putting in all the effort to turn it into a diamond,
Mhm.
and then they need the capacity in their nervous system to let go and, like, look at what's actually there,
Yeah.
which requires a wide range of feelings,
Yeah.
like anger, which women aren't generally allowed to feel,
Right.
like grief.
Mhm.
So, um, I'm, like, really working on increasing their capacity to feel. And
Mhm.
then the fun part comes in, which is having more pleasure. And I
Mhm.
thought that was step 1 before,
Mhm.
but now it's my step 3 that I
Mhm.
understand super traits. Because
Mhm.
I thought focusing on pleasure was
Mhm.
the answer,
Mhm.
right? Having the baths and setting better boundaries and all those things, but really there's way more steps that
Mhm.
need to happen ahead of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so interesting too that there's so many different modalities out there, and I think if I was a client, which oftentimes I still am, it can be hard to sift through things and be like, what is going to work for me? What modality is going to work for me? And it's interesting that I think a lot of modalities kind of say the same things, but just in different ways. I haven't read the Super Traits book, but I wonder for you to, I guess, how do I phrase this? To me, I feel like some of these traits, or maybe all of them, almost come from like a trauma response to the history that we have had in our patriarchal system, that women had to really like figure out, how am I going to survive in this dynamic that is happening. And when, we had a lot of different dynamics that happened before like the 50s, but I think the 50s were a definite like reboot of patriarchy, of like bring those women back into the household after they had been like out in the workforce for World War II. And then we're going to push the men out into the workplace instead of working like in or around the home space, so they could actually be part of the family still. It was like, we're really gonna separate these 2. And I think women have been, like, clawing back what we can from that
Ever
dynamic.
since, yeah.
Yeah. But it has kind of created this place where it's like women have to be everything and all the things, and I know there are some people in the spiritual community that really don't like feminism for that reason. I personally think it's just like we had to do the steps. It's like each step was not the full blown thing yet. And it definitely had problems and definitely had issues, and it was not intersectional and all the things, but we had to like take the steps to get to where we are now. And I think this step now is like, okay, we got to this place where we're doing a lot of things, but it's too much. Like we got to like pull it back and find our center again, come back to like, where's my power that feels aligned and good and healthy to me, instead of still being in kind of this trauma response to what we've experienced, either in our own lives or just kind of in like our lineage. How does that sit for you?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said, and that healing that response, that's the first
Yeah.
step everybody has to take. Well, the
Yeah.
awareness, in my opinion, like, we need to
Yeah.
know it's there, because if you have
Yeah.
super traits, you think that how you're engaging, relating is loving,
Mhm.
but really, it's like death in slow motion, like,
Yeah.
and that's from the health side of things. I was seeing what was
Yeah.
happening to women, like, cellularly, their hormones, their inflammation, and
Mhm.
then they would get an autoimmune disease
Yeah.
diagnosis or a breast cancer diagnosis. So,
Yeah.
like, coming at it from the health stuff first and then trying to work on things from that level, but realizing, "Oh my goodness," like, even if we manage everything from the health perspective, but she doesn't feel safe
Mhm.
in her body, she doesn't feel safe in her relationship, and sometimes she has an amazing, well-meaning partner, and
Yeah.
that is true sometimes,
Mhm.
and when she can heal those trauma responses, then her partner willingly steps up into that place, and he was sort of like, "Oh, I was waiting for
Yeah.
that," you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then sometimes it's not so easy, and then he,
Right.
like, begrudgingly
Mhm.
has to give up all those benefits that the patriarchy has
Mhm.
given him as the male in those gender
Mhm.
roles,
Mhm.
um, if he wants, like, a loving, connected relationship.
Mhm. Yeah.
But, yeah, it's all
Or just loses them all together, like you. A lot of women are getting divorced because they're like, "No, I'm not doing this anymore."
and the I can't my friend's daughter is 18, 17, anyway, somewhere around there,
Mm,
and her and her friends are all very much like, don't don't really care about marriage, like, it's just
mhm,
the even still looking back, I was very career oriented and everything, and I thought,
mm,
I'm gonna get my degrees, start my business, and
mhm.
then I'll get married and have
Yeah.
kids, but it was still like it really felt like a have
Yeah.
to for
Mhm.
me,
Mhm.
like, on those boxes that I had to tick, and
Mhm.
so, yeah, not only are women getting divorced at a massive rate, but also young women don't even wanna get married
Mm,
because they've so clearly see the path set out for them, and with the freedoms
mhm.
of feminism that
Mm,
feminism gave us, even though it is imperfect,
mhm.
uh, they have the ability to choose, and a
Mhm.
lot of them like, relationships aren't the flex anymore. Being, "Oh,
Yeah.
I've been married for, 15 years,
Right.
but you're miserable," like,
Right.
that's not impressive. That's
Right.
not what people are celebrating.
Right. Yeah.
Celebrating, like, happiness and health and fulfillment is
Mhm.
more what I'm seeing a lot,
Yeah. Yeah.
and relationships that look different.
Right.
My best friend is married, and she lives in New York City, and her husband lives in Philadelphia. I'm like, "Is it Pennsylvania or Philadelphia?" But, again, my American geography is not good, and it works for them,
Mhm.
and they know when they see each other, like, they kinda work during the week, they spend weekends together, they travel, like, it's amazing, but it looks very non-traditional
Mhm.
outside looking in.
Yeah.
So she still has a lot of her freedoms and, like, can basically live life single during the week and then have a husband on the weekend,
Mhm.
which I'm like, I that might be my next thing, long distance marriage, but we'll see.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think I think as we move into the future, the structures of how we do certain things or that we are committing ourselves to are going to change dramatically. I think we're going to be a lot more fluid in that. And the only thing that I'm like, I hope we're not losing this in future generations is just like what it means to love and what it means to like be in relationship to someone else. It doesn't mean you have to be like tied to them in a legal contract, but not be so afraid of relationships because of what we've seen that we're just not willing to even be in relationship to people. Because I also do really think that community is part of our way forward too. And we have to like learn how to be in relationship to other people and ask for help and like live alongside of each other again instead of just in these like siloed units that we've been put
with
into.
everybody on a screen.
Yeah. So I hope that that's something that we can still be like brought into this conversation too of like loving ourselves and hopefully through that being able to still like open our hearts and love other people in whatever relationship or capacity that's in. Doesn't have to be in a heterosexual marriage. Um, but
And I hope that
yeah,
is the way that it's
yeah.
going. And looking and it's mostly daughters of my clients that are a
Mhm.
bit older.
Mhm.
Um, my daughter's 5, so it's a little too soon for her and her friends
Yes.
to see how that's gonna shake out. But daughters of my clients or daughters of my friends that are a little older, they seem to be finding the community with their friends and
Mhm.
building that connection with their girlfriends and having fulfillment that
Mhm.
way.
Mhm.
Like, they support each other, like,
Mhm.
emotionally.
Mhm.
Anyways, it's interesting, but I do
Mhm.
wonder what that means
Mhm.
for sex and intimacy
Mhm.
in those younger age groups.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, part of the work that I'm wanting to do eventually is healing both the divine feminine and the divine masculine energies in all people, but especially in a heterosexual relationship for this reason too. And like we all have both divine and or both divine feminine and divine masculine energies within us. We are all created from a sperm and an egg. And I think because our society has been so suppressed in our divine feminine that everyone has kind of been in overdrive in masculine and it's kind of gotten twisted and turned into this very like corrupted thing. Um and so I think it's really interesting to maybe look at like what does it look like for us to bring back the divine feminine. That's kind of it sounds like what your work is. It's really helping women like reclaim that part of themselves and heal those wounds that we have had and feel like I can be aligned in myself again. But then also looking at the divine masculine and knowing that that's also a part of us and that's the like doer part. That's like the more linear part. But how do we bring that into a place of like we're not doing out of obligation, we're not
Or fear.
or fear, we're like holding the container for the feminine creative energy to be safe in. And we can create from a place of authenticity and then also have the tools to like bring it into the 3D world. It's like the masculine kind of holds the container and is in a place of integrity and in like a center space, but from a place of like deep knowing of who you are and being connected and rooted and grounded. And then the feminine energy, I kind of just think of this like wild potential energy that could just like go anywhere and do anything and wants to be wild and free. And those two together kind of co create to bring something into reality. Um, and so I think there's a lot of trauma that has to be worked on in all realms,
Yeah.
like
Intergenerational trauma.
intergenerational trauma. Women have to get to a place where we can like feel safe again. And men need to be able to really understand like the fear and lack of safety that women have felt for so long. And just like we all, in
And I think
2020.
even just starting there
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
acknowledging that
Yeah.
would be massive for
Massive.
everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my understanding of masculine and feminine comes from the study of Chinese medicine,
Yeah.
and my women with super traits don't generally have an issue with that. Like, they're the masculine container
Right.
for everyone and everything in their
For
lives.
everyone. Exactly.
They need
Exactly.
to learn how to be that
Yeah.
feminine, flowy energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And be able to receive, but we can't really be in a receptive place until we feel safe enough to do so. And that there's like somebody, I guess you don't really have to have a somebody, but if you have a somebody and they're not being in integrity and not holding safety for you, then it's not going to feel safe either. Um, so yeah, I think that's a really important piece. And then, obviously men doing the work to like bring into their being, like, what does it mean for me to be in my femininity, but also having this more like grounded, loving, aligned masculine instead of this like control over
Yeah,
masculine that
power
we've,
over,
yeah, power over.
which, yeah, desire needs to be freely chosen, not controlled. So
Yeah.
they need to learn definitely a new way of doing it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I'm always starting with it's very simple with the men when I'm starting it, generally, but it's that, like, there's this inherent belief that their thoughts and feelings are fact and
Mhm.
women
Yeah.
are crazy, too much, too sensitive,
Right.
etcetera.
Right.
So just by balancing that power imbalance,
Yeah.
that does wonders for people's relationships.
Yeah. 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 Oh, dismantling the patriarchal conditioning that we've all been under.
But yeah, well,
So fun.
this is one little drop of
Yeah.
improvement that can hopefully
Yes.
this podcast can hopefully have some ripple effects.
Yes. Yes. We're almost out of time. I know you have to go. I wish I would have had time to ask you about your dominatrix stuff because I'm sure that all
Okay,
plays
yeah,
a
I
part
will tell
into
you really,
this.
really quickly.
Okay.
So, I in this in this journey, I
Mhm.
needed to understand power
Mhm.
dynamics, and as the person with super traits that I am, I did some
Same here, girl. Same here.
doctor certifications. So, right, so the,
Mhm.
more clinical term is coercive control, and those are underlying elements in all of the women with super traits relationships
Mhm.
from a, like, medicalized standpoint.
Yeah.
And that helped, and it gave me some good knowledge, but then I needed to understand power and control from a deeper level,
Mhm.
and BDSM was that answer. So I did a couple certifications, as a dominatrix just to understand it more from the embodied lived experience, and
Mhm.
when there is consent and
Mhm.
there is a yes and a no. Like, there's just so many
Mhm.
beautiful things about the BDSM community that
Yeah.
heterosexual relationships, like, stereotypically have none of. It's
Mhm.
all this implied consent in these sort of
Yeah.
invisible power games and contracts that we signed that we didn't know we signed because we have
Yeah.
these gender roles. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, BDSM was just a really fascinating way for me to have lived experience of power dynamics.
Cool.
So I incorporate that into my work as well.
So cool. I mean, that really takes it to like instead of just having the information in our heads, we have to embody it sometimes for it to really I would say most of the
Yeah,
time.
and
We we have to
what does
embody it to know it.
healthy, safe dominance
Yeah.
look like, and
Mhm.
healthy embodied submission
Yeah.
look and feel like? So that was that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, can you let anyone know that's listening how they can get in touch with you and anything that they should know that you have going on currently?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Dr. Jordin Wiggins. I have a super trait quiz. I'll send you the link so everyone can have it. If you're
Yes, I
wondering if
will.
you have super traits, just take the quiz. It's 3 minutes. It'll give you your profile.
Mhm.
People usually find it quite telling. They feel very seen taking that. So and
Good.
I have my podcast, the Pleasure Principles podcast with Dr. Jordin Wiggins, if you wanna hear more about my work.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Jordan, for being here. I really enjoyed this conversation that we had. I feel like we are very aligned in the things that we're doing.
Yes.
And
Yes, thank you
I,
so much for having me.
of course, I hope to maybe have you on again in the future.
I would love to.
Awesome. Okay. Well, until my next episode, I will see and talk to you all then. Take care, all.